Welcome to the All Pop No Culture podcast. I'm your host this week, Kevin. This week we're doing something a little different. I've spent the better part of the last several years trying to get Pete to watch Lost, and I finally got him to do it. I also got lucky enough to find two other people that have never watched Lost. This week I've got them watching the first two episodes of Lost, which is also the pilot. Each week, the four of us will be watching two episodes of Lost and then talking about it on the show. Like I said, this week we're starting with a pilot episode, which is one of the best pilots of all time, in my opinion, and also, as we'll talk about during the show, one of the most expensive pilots made at the time. What I'm personally excited about is watching these guys experience the show for the first time. And the reason that we laid it out the way that we did with only two episodes a week is so that they have time to speculate in between, like those of us that watched Lost when it aired had to. Admittedly, this first episode was a little less structured than I would have liked it to be. So next week, I'm going to try and get a little better with bringing some questions, try and figure out what the guys are looking forward to, what they think is going to happen, and hopefully bring in some trivia. As a huge Lost fan, I have the Lost box set, so hopefully I'll get to watch some director's commentary and bring some special notes in to go along with that. And again, educate these guys on Lost since they've never seen it before. So for now, sit down, sit back, and enjoy the show. Now we're on to a special segment I like to call Fucking Finally, where I thought I was just getting Pete to watch Lost because I've been trying for probably a year or two to get somebody to watch this show that has never seen it before. And the idea being that it was the last true water cooler show. It was 6 seasons. And every week I remember the show being on and everybody sitting down and talking about what is going on. And I haven't been able to experience that. I've watched the show many times since, and even watching it as many times as I have, I always find new things. But what I will never have again is that first time watching it. So I've tried to get people to do this, and now I've got Pete, and then he brought you guys in, and somehow spectacularly neither of you have watched it. So I am here to watch you guys discuss the first episode. I don't have a lot to input because I know too much. But to start at the beginning, we open up on a dude in a bamboo forest. So I don't know. So because I've waited so long to get you to watch this, Pete, I'm gonna let you go first, and you can kind of just bring everybody into the conversation. I don't think we need to go around the horn because I think you guys are gonna riff off of each other here. But
okay, so if this 2-episode pilot is indicative of how the rest of this series goes, I really feel like this show is so going to be overhyped and overblown, and I really am not going to enjoy it at all.
Oh, that's okay.
Honestly, I'm just playing. I wanted the reaction out of Kevin, dude.
I knew what you were doing. Yeah,
I'm hooked. I'm so happy I saved it, and I actually watched it. I finished this episode at like 7:00. I finished the second episode, our time. So it's still really fresh in my mind. The only real things I know like there's a smoke monster. I know the guy, bald head. I'm forgetting the character's name now. John Locke. I know he is some sort of a bad guy at some point. I believe, just impressions that I get. Other than that, really, I don't know anything about Lost other than it does have a ton of intertwining storylines with each character is great. So far, dude, I am I am loving this show. I'm understanding now why people got captivated by it. I mean, it makes me want to go back and watch Alias because I never watched Alias. And if this was
Mhm.
J.J. Abrams on TV, this is brilliant. Like, he's done some good movies, but the dude needs to come back to TV.
Yeah.
The
Like, this
downside to
is
Alias is it ran a little too long. Not to get too far off topic too fast, but Alias ran a little too long, got a little too creative with the storylines, but the beginnings of Alias were fantastic. And it's important to note too that while J.J. Abrams was a creator of Lost, he did not drive the show the longer it went on. It was Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse.
Okay.
We did Watchmen, I believe. Yeah.
Mhm.
This show is fucking amazing so far. Like, it's got like, it's already got me guessing about things, and it's so cool because you're like, oh, the stories here with all these people are so much deeper than what you get. And the cast, seeing a younger cast now that I, knowing some of these people as they moved on and other stuff that they've done, you look at it and you're just like, oh, dude, like, the only one really that you're like, oh, you're on your way out, was Matthew Fox, because he was coming right off a Party of Five.
Correct.
On Fox. That's when that
I don't think it was right off of, though. I think it was a couple years off.
It was, because Party of Five, I think, was done by like 99 or 2000.
Was it that? Yeah. There was a little bit. I felt like that's like the only thing you really know him for at all.
Correct.
So I can tell you this too, because it doesn't spoil anything. The character of Jack was originally cast as Michael Keaton. What? Michael Keaton was going to play Jack, and he was going to die in the first episode.
Oh my God.
So the whole point of bringing him in was to be like, this is the guy we're watching for, right? Because Michael Keaton would have been the name, because especially if you look at it at the time, there's no name on that show. Matthew Fox was the biggest name on the show.
Yeah. This broke Evangeline Lilly.
Yep. They would have brought in Michael Keaton. People would have been drawn in because of the name, right? Michael Keaton on television, and then he would have died in that pilot episode.
Huh. No, I get now why people got into the show right from the beginning.
Yeah,
it makes total sense to me. This is like Sawyer is going to be very interesting. That whole, just right from the jump, the interaction between him and Saeed.
Hey guys, come on, man. Hey, break it up! Break it up! Get off! Hey, come on, break it up! Bitch! Man, let's go! It's over! Come on! That's it! I think of this friend. You want some more of me, boy? Tell everyone what you told me. Tell them that I crashed the plane. Go on. Tell them I made the plane crash. Buddy.
It's gonna be cool. Like, I'm actually I was watching it with my daughters. My oldest was kind of, TikToking and almost, she wasn't really paying attention. My youngest was like way into it. She was like, wait, what's going on? She's 9. So this is, so it's a little scary, but she's like, okay, wait, what's going on here? What's doing with this? Who's this? Like, she's kind of already digging into that. The whole thing with the dog is tripping me out. Like, I feel like there's going to be way more to that. The twist with Evangeline Lilly being the
yeah, I didn't see that coming, dude.
No, not at all.
You sure you don't want some more juice?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Not at all. I assumed, I'm like, okay, it's gonna be Sawyer. Like, this is, I guess maybe it does in some level make me look at this and go, wow, maybe I do really watch some shit TV. That it was so surprising to me. But it's amazing storytelling. Like, I can already tell. I love the way they're doing small flashbacks. It's just enough for you to see. To see Mary out there in his little hobbity ways, snorting heroin, to try and not get dope sick, was a trip. I did. It was funny because I called that the minute he said he was in a band, and the whole bathroom thing. Like, the minute I saw it, like how he was getting, and my daughter was like, "What's wrong with him?" I'm like, "He's dope sick." I'm like, "Yeah, I guarantee that one I called." just because I saw where that was going. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, he's dope sick. Like this makes sense. But I buy Matthew Fox as a doctor too.
Yep. That's the one credit that I will absolutely give to the show from the beginning is that, like, you watch other shows, and sometimes they have to find their legs before they're good or whatever. They did an amazing job directing these characters. They worked with them to make sure that they were their characters before they started. And they all know who they are. They know how they talk. They know, it was well done. But yeah, it's for a 2-hour pilot in 2004. And I said it, before we started recording, but it's the most expensive pilot in television history at the time. And it was a huge gamble because one of the other things that is funny is that when they pitched it to ABC, they went in with a whole show Bible and all this stuff about what the show was going to be. And so ABC bought in, and they did none of that. They literally did nothing that they promised ABC. Yeah. So in a lot of ways, the show was a huge gamble. And it was successful, but
I'll put it like this: between me and the 9-year-old, we may have to discuss upping it to more than 2 episodes a week.
Wow.
No.
Like we watched those first 2 and we were ready to go on to a third. I got enough time before I got to set up. We should watch it.
No cheating, man. No cheating.
You gotta. Yeah. I'm really enjoying it. Like I'm looking forward to. I got to space it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Like totally before I watch the next 2,
because that was the thing, right? Is that when an episode ends, almost every episode is going to end on just a little bit of cliffhanger. You're always going to be left going to the next episode, and so the feeling that you don't get in television today because you watch everything back to back to back to back to back is that anticipation in between, and that moment in between, or that week in between, where you have to think about what's coming next. Because like for you, what's coming next in your mind? What is happening next?
Well, okay, before we go there, I want to hear what the Andys have to say about it.
All right, we'll go to Andrew.
All right, I'll go first. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll try to keep it short. I think for me, what struck me the most was, I remember back in the day being proud that Matthew Fox was able to like reinvent himself as like a leading man. I was like, good for you, Matt. Like, seriously, that's number one. Number two, I knew about Lost, but I was like, okay, this is just basically Survivor, like scripted Survivor. They're on an island and there's a smoke monster, and woo, like I'm like, so when the smoke monster actually like rips that guy out of the plane. I was like, what? Like, I was just like, I thought it was a smoke monster. I didn't realize it could kill you. Like, this is bullshit. Like, I was like, if I was them, I'd be shitting bricks. I'm like, holy shit, this is real. We can get dot. And then I was thinking Cloverfield. Like, I was thinking like maybe Cloverfield just stomping around the island. And that's why I was also thinking like, what's his name? Abrams is so into the whole like Easter eggs. I know Slusho shows up, I think, in Alias or one of the shows. And it's like, and Slusho shows up in Cloverfield. So I'm already thinking like world building. So but I think ultimately, and then even seeing that one dude, I forget his name, but you guys know what I'm talking about. He's in everything.
Yeah, the pilot. He's in all the JDM and stuff.
Yes, like seeing him and getting killed so quickly, like I don't know. I was just like, this is awesome, and I'm so happy that like this phenomenon I know nothing about. And whenever I talk to people and I tell them I haven't seen Lost, they actually seem disappointed. Like, really, Andrew? Like, you seem like a Lost dude. Like, that's. How have you not seen Lost? So now I'm going to see it. And like, we're going to do this assignment. We're going to do the whole 2-episode thing. But even if we don't do it, I am going to cheat. And I'm going to like if we don't do it, I'm going to cheat. I might not watch every single episode, but I'm definitely going to find like a Bible, like a thing, like a guide to Lost, the Cliff Notes version. And I'm going to finish it. And I'm going to like see this finale for what it is.
That's the other thing too. That's a real bummer, is that what you lose too is this was before before
The
chat rooms,
internet.
before all that stuff. No, it was the internet, but it was message boards. So
Yeah.
the people that were the most into Lost were posting on message boards, breaking down every episode. Like the longer this
Theory.
goes, and knowing J.J. Abrams and his mysteries, right? I'm not giving anything away there. There's going to be
Oh yeah.
mystery as it goes. People were like breaking down every previous episode and like the fan theories and shit. Like it was incredible to see at the time, because it was the show that drove these other mediums forward, because it people needed a way to connect about the show
Afterwards. Yes.
Yeah.
So cool. So I mean, I just get it, and the casting is amazing. Like everyone, like even Hurley, when he's like, "I'm not good with blood, I'm not good with blood," then he faints on top of him. I laughed. I was like, "This is like a diner show." Daniel Day Kim's character, like, what a mother effer. Like, are you serious, dude? You're just gonna like pick these things and like just test it on people to make sure it's not poisonous? You're a dick, man. And I love how like Hurley's like, "I'm hungry. I'm not like that hungry." Like it was so good. Like
so that I looked at, and that I found very interesting, because that actually brought up a very interesting conversation between my daughters and I, because it's just sea urchin. Like it was just sushi basically that he made. When he pulled that up, it's just a sea urchin.
But so he's not, but I saw it as he wasn't sure if it was good or not. He wouldn't let his family member eat it. He's like, no, not yet. And that's why when she's like that was a jump scare, because it's like the baby came. I was thinking she was gonna like die in front of him. You're like, okay, good. We're not gonna eat this. Like,
so I'm taking that differently.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just reading the vibe wrong, and I could, like my prediction, like I'm reading that because of the way he reacted to some things. They're Korean, one, just based on the character name, and I think that's his wife, and maybe she cheated on him, because remember she tells him to button the top button.
I remember that.
He's very controlling. He's very, you will stand behind me. Like she's like paying for an affair. Like like she went off to vacation. We still don't know. We know they've left Australia, right? We don't know where they were destined for, though. All we know is that they were on their, like, they decided to cut back around 1,000 miles to Fiji because they found out their radio wasn't working. But they wound up going like 1,000 miles off course of where they were supposed to, and that's what the pilot said, because that's why nobody was looking for him. And so, like, I'm looking at that going, okay, knowing that they're all coming from Australia, and you've got the, then the kid says, "Oh, my mom, we live in Australia, but she just died a couple of weeks ago. So, my dad came to get me." I forgot where I was going with this. This show's already kind of.
I was criticizing basically. I was saying like these characters are so good because they're so real, and I think that he's using the other pastors as guinea pigs. Which I have another point, by the way. So I'm gonna try to remember that. When you finish your point.
Yeah. So I think that relationship's gonna be very different than it appears, because because as soon as another guy walked up and he noticed the button was undone, he was like, "Do your top button," Could be, who knows? I'm very interested. I'm so interested to hear every behind him.
I think Dakin's a villain. I think he's a villain. And I also remember, and then I want to make sure Andy gets to talk too. I also remember, like, even when the show was on, they all died. This is the afterlife, right? So I was thinking, okay, this is the afterlife. This is the good place before the good place. No one can really die. There's a smoke monster. And I'm like, no, there's a smoke monster. He can fuck you up. And people are actually dying of like injuries and shrapnel. And this is some bullshit. And this is absolutely much rougher than I thought it was going to be. And I'm in, even though I didn't think I was going to be in, because I hate the outdoors. I would actually probably find a way to kill myself if I was out there, because fuck that. No lice, no infections, and gangrene. I'm good. No, I'm not surviving. Bad breath everywhere.
They shoot a polar bear in the jungle.
Like, this is some crazy shit, dude.
The 16-year-old repeating message. I love the way that dude was just doing that math in his head.
It's roughly 30 seconds long, so how long?
Don't forget to carry the one, Chief.
16 years.
What?
16 years. And 5 months, that's the count.
Like, I would have been like, I'm like, hey, my flip phone I may not get a signal, but I know my flip phone has a calculator function on it.
I don't know French that good. Like, I'm like, I don't know what this is. Gibberish. All right, I'm done. But clearly, I'm sitting forward and talking fast. I like the damn show.
Andy?
It is curious to me. So there's some practical things that I struggle with, right? Like, so you go in the you go to the mountaintop without water, you know.
Oh no,
So,
I know. I totally. I'm sorry. Finish
But
what
it's
you're saying. I'm like
important.
cutting. I'm cutting you off before you make your point, but I know where you're going with this, and
yeah. So like I'm a hunter, right? Like, so like I go in the woods with a rifle and water and things I need to sustain myself to come out, right? So, you know, I look at these people like, let's go to the top of the hill, and they leave without water. I'm like, come on. So there's parts of me now. I understand this is a show and it's a TV show, and like things are not supposed to be real. But at the same point, like, why would you go into this area with nothing?
Because they have
Like,
nothing.
well, but then you shouldn't leave with nothing. Like, you, like, or at least if you're gonna go with nothing, you at least should talk about that you're going with nothing. So it's I struggled with these first two episodes because they go with zero hope of success.
I so see where you're going. There were that was one way where I really did have to just suspend my disbelief for the moment and kind
Exactly.
of realize that I was looking at a different kind of show, because like my first instincts, they're on the beach, they're crash landed. I'm like, okay, the fires are out, we're kind of assessing victims. They're just like, there's just dead bodies laying all over the place. They haven't done anything with those. You need to start dealing with that right away. You need to secure fresh water. We need some sort of shelter. Hurley's walking around just giving people airplane meals that survive. I'm like, dude, that could be the only food we have. We need to figure out how we're going to ration that. How many people do we have left? You know, they like, you have one doctor, maybe more. There's other people lying around that are sick or injured. Was anybody helping triage this? Like what's, where are we at? Because and granted, again, for the storyline, but let's be real, as a doctor, as an ER doctor, at least with all the emergency room TV shows that I've watched, I would see that dude with the piece of shrapnel and I'd be like, no, it's morphine. Push him off to the side with the other people that are going to roll out. We're going to try and fix some people that we can save. Because you can't, dude, with the thing in the side, that, I'm sorry, and I could be wrong, that guy's got to die after maybe spilling some tea on Kate. But there is no way a piece of shrapnel that big did not enter that dude's body and completely tear up his insides to the point where he's gonna bleed out. There's nothing Jack can do. He needs a surgical suite to fix what's going on inside that guy's gut right there.
Totally
Like
true.
that, that's like, there's no way in logical hell that guy will survive at all. Like, I'm amazed he's survived as long as he have. If you look at, they've been on the island 16 hours, like bleeding out like that. Yes, they are doing the right thing. You don't pull something like that out of a wound, but that's also not a piece of rebar through your thigh. Like, he's got a piece of shrapnel in, what was that? I think it was his left side, so it's right into his stomach and intestine, up, abdominal wall. Like, there's just so much that could be going wrong with that dude.
He's
that I'm like,
fucked. Yeah.
that I have to go, okay, but that's not the kind of show this is, that I'm just going to accept that and roll with the fact that I'm watching a mystery in a way, or how this is going to unfold set out this way, and the pieces and the players and the characters are all going to be coming together to show me what's going on. That I just have to take that side of this and just go, no,
Okay.
because it's like, like they had the one big main fire, but then there was like a couple of little bit. I'm sorry, you're trying to tell me now 42 people are left. There aren't already, even within 16 hours, you could do some Stanford prison experiment shit on this. There would already be groups forming. People, natural leaders would have stepped forward to already begin taking controls of situations. Like there would have been enough people that things would have been happening differently than they're seeing them. But that's not what this show is about. That's like, it's about something different. So I'm like, I can't, I'm gonna jump on this roller coaster and go where it's taking me, because it's not gonna be,
Agreed.
like what it should be, if you will. I just like, I got that vibe right from the jump. Because the reality is, Matthew Fox would be dead if you look at how far he had to travel from the plane crash to where he was. Even say he was thrown free, that would have killed him. Like
So my girlfriend, I told her we're doing this whole thing, and she was like chewing her nails trying to tell me, or trying to stop herself from telling me what happened, this whole deal, right? Like she's like,
Yeah, you're gonna have to break up with her for a little while.
But my point is, it is similar to what you're saying. It's I struggle with the fact this series couldn't last today. Fair? If Lost launched today, I don't think
I will argue that completely, because we now have a 4th season of Manifest coming, and that show is a fucking shit pile. So I would argue that Lost would do just fine today. Now, one thing that the creators have said is that if they did Lost today, it would be a 10 to 12 episode season instead of a 24 episode season. That is the difference in television today, but not in the content of the show itself.
Who seen Manifest here out of these 4?
I watched the first 3 episodes and then stopped because I could tell what it was, and that's, I think that's part of why, like I joked earlier about, Jesus, I watch a lot of shitty TV. If this is what's good, I think this is, and granted, we've only watched the first 2 hours. I can just tell already. I'm like, if this continues, if this level and quality, and it's J.J. Abrams and it's been this famous, so it's going to. Right. But if this is what carries through, like, this is just like one of those perfect examples of when television is amazing, and like the stories you can tell on TV, and why television's really what winds up being a long format, because it's, you get if you're trying to make a movie, at the most, you're popping in at the most 3 hours. Right, like let's be real. There's little things, and you gotta have like a phenomenal script and the right studio to put out a 3-hour movie. Well, they've told this story 6 seasons, like 24 episodes a season. I'm not doing that math, but like that's a lot of hours, and you're able to tell an amazing story through that. And I'm really excited.
Can I jump in for a second? I just want to jump in for a second. So another reason why I'm also super excited is because, like with my experience with Heroes, and by the way, I just cannot do broadcast TV anymore. 24 episodes a season. Sorry, I'm out. Like, I'm not starting, right? That said, okay, both Heroes and Lost are almost like origin stories for heavyweights, when it comes to creatives, because not only do you have Damon Lindelof, who now has my respect ever since Watchmen, you've got J.J. Abrams. You also have, from a score perspective, Michael Giacchino. He is like the shit now when it comes to scoring, and he's scoring TV. Like, so for me, it's like you're getting like cinematic level shit on a TV show. So I'm in, dude. Like, this is like some origin story, quality television, primordial stuff. Right. And Kevin, you talk about this being the last water cooler show. I would say, I think Game of Thrones is up there as well. I think people would talk about that afterwards too. But from a broadcast TV standpoint, like, yeah, I agree with you. And that's why I'm also, this is history. This is like, if I was a professor of television, like in terms of like teaching my students, like Lost would be in my curriculum. I could already tell just from those first 2 episodes.
Yeah,
And
like well, here's this, and I hate to. This is Game of Thrones. I agree with you to a degree, except that there was a limit because that was pay TV, and this is broadcast, and so
Fair.
like everybody had on their cable. It's 2004, and so we are looking at the time of. It's still before Sex and the City. And for HBO, Sex and the City was really the show that kicked off a lot of the you have to um like subscribe to HBO to get this that real heavyweight.
I think Sex and the City was around 2004.
I'm going to check that right
I'm checking
now.
it right now. Exactly. I think it was around.
Because it
might have
yeah.
just started.
Oh, good Lord, no, that was, yeah.
Well, yeah, The Sopranos before that too.
Never mind. Oh, that's
HBO,
right.
But
That was still late 90s. Yeah, that was 98.
Damn. Okay, yeah, it's around.
Yeah.
Shit.
I'm just talking out my ass on this one, but anyway.
The comparison with Game of Thrones, though, is that Game of Thrones had fewer like mysteries overall. Like
Fair.
you
I
had
get
a
what you're
couple of
saying.
things you were trying to figure out, but the reason that Lost was the water cooler show at the time is because there were things that people needed to know what was coming next. With Game of Thrones, you had 8 or 10 episodes, and people were still talking about that show like crazy. I actually think the more water cooler type show at the time was Westworld. When that one was airing once a week and there was weird shit happening that you had to figure out, Westworld was more of people trying to figure out what's coming next than Game of Thrones was. And Game of Thrones also had the disadvantage of being a book series beforehand.
Yeah.
So there was a bunch of people that were like, oh, I read the book, I know it's going to happen, blah, 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 blah. You don't have that with Lost. You kind of had that with Westworld, but not really, because it didn't really follow the same trajectory as the movie.
And it was also just one season. I think season 1 is what people cared about. By season 2, people are already dropping off in droves.
Yeah. It didn't hold up as well especially into the 3rd season. But Andy, you got anything else besides you hate it and now I hate you?
No. Don't. I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. But in my defense, I was watching it, shooting holes through it the whole time. Like, why would you do this? Why would you leave water? Why would you not do this? But that's me too. Like I'm a hunter, like I'm an outdoorsman. Like, so like I'm watching these people like leave the things that it didn't make sense to me in some ways. Like if I were a survivor of a plane crash, these are not things that I would do. But, and again, I don't know I have heard like, I don't know the result of this series. I really don't. I have no idea. I know that somebody said like that maybe there is somebody's imagination of what happened at the end, but I don't know those things. I don't know what happens at the end. So there's some part of my mind that can shadow the disbelief that I have, because maybe in the end it's just somebody's imagination, but I don't know what happens. So I can allow those things to go by without I can let them go. I can shadow that. Like, it's okay. Like I'm looking forward to that. Like, I was at the gym today and I did not watch the next episode because I wanted to wait for us to have this conversation before I watched the next episode. And I'm looking forward to the next episode to see what happens next.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, it bothered me, but only because I think that if Lost happened in 2022, they would have had somebody bring water with the guys when they went to go look for the other part of the plane, because they realized they should probably bring water with them.
Well, that it's also in 2022, even in a pilot, you would have had somehow several hydro flasks would have survived, and that would have been the product placement
Yeah,
for
no,
to sponsor the show. So they would have
you're
just magically had like some banged up ass hydro flasks that
yes,
yeah. But yeah,
you're
no,
silly,
I
but not wrong.
I totally get what you're saying. I especially by what you mean, like if it was made today, I think if it was made today, it would still be the same storytelling. There would just be a lot that was different about it that would have actually addressed some of the stuff that you were feeling. Even if they literally had some dude roll in who was just like a one of the other passengers of the 42 that just doesn't mean anything to him, and just rolls in and be like, "Hey man, we found fresh water. We're good." And rolled out like because I made my daughter laugh because like when he shoots the bear, I'm like, oh, they need to Oregon Trail that bitch and bring it back to camp.
Totally.
Like, cut the bear. Like that was my first thought. I was like, sweet. That's like there's 5 of us. We're gonna be able to drag this thing back. Maybe we'll deal with the radio tomorrow. Let's go back because we now have a protein because polar bears weigh like 1,500 pounds. That's like
yes,
that's like dragging a Honda Civic back to camp. Like 5 people, y'all need to do this. That's gonna feed a lot of people. Like I get it. That's where my brain went with stuff with a lot of that.
100%.
I just don't think it bothered me as much as it got to you. Like I bought into this, and like I'm not just looking forward to it.
That's so funny that your brain went to food. I went to where is its family? Like, are there more of them? Like, how many more bullets do you have in that gun? Like, I'm scared. I'm like, there's got to be more than that one, and that was the scary weather ever. Why are you taking care of that gun? Give it no, we need more guns. Like, anyway, that was where my brain went.
The minute they realized it was a polar bear, I was like, it's already gonna be fucked up anyway. Let's just drag it back to camp. Fuck its family. If there's more of them, they're coming to get me. But yeah, I'm super happy with this. Kevin, I will say you were dead on right about this one. And I know we're only 2 hours into it, but I get that vibe. Like I get how this hooked people, and how this became a thing.
And it's so well written. Like I love the way the pilot ends, and the last thing that you fucking hear in the pilot is Dominic Monaghan saying, "Guys, where are we?" And then boom, out.
Guys, where are we?
So they're like, that sets up the your whole mentality of the show. That like, where the fuck are they? Like, what is happening? Like just with that line of dialogue, you're watching a mystery show, right? Like things are gonna get weird. Like you just shot a polar bear on a fucking tropical island. There's some kind of monster in the woods that ate a pilot. Like, where are we? Right. So
like ripped them out of the cockpit. Like you would never see me in the woods again. I'd be on the beach the entire time.
That was the other thing. I understand they're like the brave passengers and everything else. This was the other one that I had to like kind of push past a little bit. Those people actually went into that jungle to get up towards that hill, or even to go find the other part of the fuselage after watching those trees shake. Like on those first few hours there, I was like, I saw that, I'd be like, we're staying here at the beach. Like, I feel for those people that may be inland, but fuck them. I'm right here. We're gonna search for some fresh water around here.
Yes.
Some mangoes, coconuts, papayas, something. It's a tropical island.
This will make sense a lot later, but just write it down now that Pete, you are Frogurt. Like yogurt with an FR. Frogurt, that's you. You'll find out later. That's you. That guy is you.
Okay.
But
mark it down.
It's there's
I can't wait. Ugh.
Yeah, a lot of, I don't want to give too much away, but a lot of things that that you guys have talked about will show up. Like obviously they're stranded on an island, and so those things will come up.
This
And
is
they just have to do it in a storytelling manner, right? If you made a TV show about just what would actually happen if people landed on an island, it actually pretty a little boring. Or you can go watch Yellow Jackets on Showtime.
I think it's. I will say this. I didn't cheat so much, but I wanted to get the names of some of the actors. So I went and looked at IMDb, and I just kept scrolling down, and I noticed something very interesting. And I hope again, it could just be a theory. Lord knows if I'm right or wrong, but like almost all of the main characters are in at least 118 out of 119 episodes, and then all of a sudden you get like you get down past that big chunk of 118 119 and you start getting into 47 57 23 23, and so there's all these little people that we haven't seen yet. So I feel like there's I'm not going to give anything away because I don't want to even say I deduced. It's just a guess just based on that.
2 planes.
No. I'm not even just that someone dies at some point of the main group that you see, just based on the episodic thing that I looked at.
Oh,
But I think it's very interesting because it doesn't look like they kill off any of the main characters.
well, I'm expecting them to die because I was also thinking this is like The Walking Dead before The Walking Dead. Like that's what I was also thinking in a way too, because it's such a character study of like how people interact. And I also, again, my short attention span, I watched the first season, but I was like, I can't do this. I dropped off, and everyone's like, are you like? But yeah, no. But anyway, it gave me Walking Dead vibes. So everybody on that island, I'm looking at like, yeah, you could die tomorrow. Like, so if they don't die, that's really impressive because from that first episode with this monster killing people and shit, like I'm like, this is a fucked up situation. So if you guys survive, like that was very merciful.
That is one thing that you will find out as the show goes on, is that it is, while there's obviously a story and there's obviously a mystery and there's the stuff that they are telling, it is very much, it is probably, in my opinion, the best character building show that I have ever seen.
Beautiful. I mean,
Like, yeah,
love it.
It is very character driven.
I like it. I'm looking forward to it. It will actually be hard to not
Skip forward.
watch ahead, because I've got to pace myself out. I can I want to go, oh well, if I can watch, if I have to watch 2 before the next show, I'm just going to watch 3 and 4 right now. I'm like, no, I want to wait maybe and try and do it exactly the way I did. Maybe I wait till Saturday night and watch it like right before the show, or like really close to it, because I'm very excited.
I was ready to watch episode 3 today.
Yeah.
And I literally decided to put on a different show because I didn't want to get ahead of myself. Like, I'm excited to watch 3 and 4 for next week. Like it's fun. And I'll put aside my disbelief because I realize that that's silly, and just watch it for what it is. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. Like, I'm stoked. I'm totally stoked.